Hello everyone, welcome back to my Unreal Engine open world tutorial series. So today we are going to do another experiment. So this is the experiment. So this is one of my procedural objects, and yeah, this is what we have been working on previously. So yeah, to do the experiment I'm gonna enable stat advanced and scene rendering. Right, so here I'm gonna pay attention to this mesh draw calls. So now if I keep increasing the number of instances of this procedural object, you can see the number of mesh draw calls stays same. That's because we are using mesh instancing. We are placing only instances of the same instanced static mesh. So that's why the number of draw calls do not go up. So right, now the next thing I want to do is, so basically I'm using this object to create things like roads, bridges and everything that I need in the level to create. So definitely I will have to make more than one road. So yeah, if I duplicate this procedural object itself like this, what I did is just keep pressing Alt and move it like this. So right, so anyway, if I duplicate this procedural object, now you can see the mesh draw calls increased despite the fact that I am using the same static mesh. And if I keep duplicating, you can see the number of mesh draw calls go up. So the reason is, even though even now here, as you can see, we have only 1 2 3 4 5 meshes, but we can have way more than 5 meshes. If I keep adding instances, you can see the number of draw calls don't go up. So why it doesn't go up when I duplicate the same object and place like this? It doesn't go up, but when I duplicate the procedural object itself, the mesh draw calls go up. Now as you can see here, it's 54. Right, now the reason is that even if I am placing them as instances of instanced static meshes, there is a single instanced static meshes, actually one instance of that. It's really hard to explain. Yeah, one instance of the same static mesh that we keep as the reference for each of these procedural object. So that's why even if these are the same static meshes, the draw call count go up. So I think I should explain this with the image. Okay, so I took a screenshot to explain this. Right, so these are, I'll call, there is an, for each of these procedural objects, this is 1, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. All right, and let me select a better color. Right, so now for each of these there is a reference in the memory for one of these static meshes. They keep it as the reference for the instanced static mesh. So I'll represent it with clips like this, right? And each of these are instances of the same static mesh reference that created inside in the memory. So for this one also there is another instanced static mesh reference or something like that in the memory, and these things are instances of that object like this. So yeah, so when I keep duplicating the procedural object like this, these things are get duplicated. So that's why, let me delete them again, right? So here the mesh draw holes are 38, so when I duplicate it, it becomes now 42 and 46 and 50. So that's not because these individual instances, that's because these mesh reference, I don't know what it is, what the actual term, but however this object created in the memory, and that's why this draw hole keep going up. So to prevent that, what we should do is this: instead of, let me select another color, yeah, instead of creating new new object for this instanced static mesh, if we are using the same mesh for this rod as well, what we should do is we should create instances of this object for this rod too, without creating a new object for that rod. So that's what we should do. So that's the explanation, the best way I can explain it. So yeah, now let's see how to really do that. Okay, so now to share that object, this is my folder with the procedural objects, and I'll create another blueprint, actor blueprint. I'll call it procedural manager. Right, I'll open it. Now here I'll add a new function, get mesh reference, and it should have an output of the type. What's the type I am using here? Hierarchically instanced static mesh component. Right, that's the type. Okay, I'll call it HISM, and as the input I should get static mesh object reference. Wait, what's the type? Static mesh object reference. Why can't I name it like that? right. I'll call that SM. So what this function should do is, when I get an SM or static mesh reference, it should return the relevant instanced static mesh. Right. Now I'll promote this to a variable. No, that shouldn't be yeah, we need right, HISM array. I'll break this. So this should be an array, and the type should be Kikali instanced static mesh components. Okay. Right, now what I should do is get this one for each I should do a for each with break. Okay, get the element, get static mesh, and then if this one is equal to the mesh we are requesting, if it is true, it should return the HISM and break. Let's add the sequence, then break. We connect it like this. Okay, so right, this is the one I should return if that's the case. Otherwise what I should do is I'll add a local variable found. It should be a boolean. Set found to true if I found it. When it is completed, if it is found, don't do anything. If it is not found, what I should do is this: add the new hierarchical instanced static mesh component here, like this. Component like this, and add it to this HISM array like this. And then return the same. Oh. This is what I should be returning. Right. Oh well, before that I should set static mesh of this with the static mesh I want to use, like this. Okay, now I think this part is done. I'll make it public just in case. Okay, now in the procedural object, instead of creating this, I'll try to get a reference. I'll check if there is already an instance of the same static mesh static mesh component with the same static mesh. Otherwise I will create a new one in here. So yeah, anyway I need to find if there is a procedural manager. Get actors of class procedural manager. Like this, and get the first one. Well, I should continue only if I got valid actors here. That means this should be larger than 0. If it is true, continue. I'll promote this to a variable procedural manager. This one we don't need now. Right, and then I'm gonna have to replace this part using the procedural manager. Get this one, get what's the get mesh reference. Of this mesh, and set it as the set sm current. Then continue. So we don't need this part, or we do. Connect it like this. I think I need to clean this up a little bit. Okay, this part is correct. What about here? Here also we need to get rid of this part. Get procedural manager, get mesh reference of this mesh, and continue. Compile. Now you can see none of these objects are being rendered because we haven't added a procedural manager to the scene. So I'll go ahead and add one. Right, now once you compile, you can see, alright, all of these are being rendered, and you can see again this mesh protocol count is reduced to 37. So to prove that, I'll delete this one. Oh, we have another problem now, because when I delete that object, you can see the instances are not being deleted because those instances are instances of the reference, the instanced static mesh that have been created here instead of this one. Okay, anyway, I'll how to fix that. What happens if I delete this? Okay, alright. Okay, so now when if I duplicate it, you can see as I move that along the way, a number of instances are being created, and even if I delete the second procedural object, those instances are not cleared. That's because these instances are belong to the object of this procedural manager's created instanced static mesh. So we need to resolve that problem. Okay, so here right, we can clear instances like this, remove instance, and we can give the index. But the problem is we don't hold these instance indexes, so we need some place to hold them. Where should I do that? Okay, I guess I need to add another element to my procedural element. Here I have instance transforms. Now I'll add another one, an integer array. I'll call it instance indexes and save. Right, now I have this instance indexes here. Okay, I'll add to that here. Well, this part is becoming more and more complex, but I can't really do about that because this is complex. Right, now we do have a place to hold the instance indexes. So before we draw any new indexes, before we add any new instances, now we should clear all those instances. So to do that, right here, okay, we don't have to do this part now because this will already have that is static mesh. I have to do that here and also here. That part is a bit redundant. Okay, after getting this HISM current, I would have to do a for each like this, and for each element get the HISM current remove instance of the element. I'll promote this to a macro. Remove, I'll call it remove clear instances. I should do that here as well. Okay, now it should work, but first I need to get rid of these initial instances. Well, I need to do this part when I load instances here as well. Add and in here, after everything is done, I need to clear this array. Well, yeah, I tried this method, but it seems it is not working. As you can see, the instances are still there without clearing. So let's try another way. Let's add a new variable. Can I add a map? Yeah, map. First one would be hierarchical instanced static mesh component, and the second one would be an integer. I'll call it mesh instances. Now instead of this one, I'll get this and add an element to that map. This integer and the HISM current. I need to do this in the other place as well. I should really control this with a single function. And in the clear instances of this, what I should do is for get how to access elements of this map. We can get the keys, oh, this is wrong. I need to interchange this. First one should be index integer and the other one should be clearly instanced static mesh component. Otherwise we would have only one map in there. Right. Right. This is the key and this is the value. Do it here and also here. I'm sure most of people would have stopped watching this episode at this point, but anyway, I am going to continue. Now here wait, let's see if we have valid elements. We got only one. Why is that? Alright, I should connect this, not the other one. Okay, compile. Right, now we have, now it's correct. Alright, now here in the clear instances, get keys and get values. Let's use this one. Okay, and for each key, this is what I'm going to do. For each key, get the value with the element, and then remove instance of this key, and once it is completed, call output. Okay, now let's see if I can move this object. Well, I can, but at some point it broke. I'm not sure why. If I duplicate it also, that happened, but after some point I can move it without any issue. I can do this too. Well, I forgot one thing. Even though I don't think that's the case, I need to clear this after removing all the instances. Oh, doing that here is wrong. Well, yeah, now that I think about this attempt is wrong. The reason is because the reason is, let's say this one have multiple this one have multiple objects other than this part. In previous case we had like statues and some walls and some trees and everything. So if I have element like that, then still I will get the same index for different instanced static mesh here. So therefore this approach is wrong. But anyway, I'm going to stop this episode at this point because this has already taken too long. And yeah, as you can see, this is just another failed attempt of mine to develop this system. But anyway, I'll try again tomorrow with a fresh mind. And yeah, sorry to disappoint you, but anyway, I'm sharing this video with you, but hoping that you would learn something out of this. And if you have any suggestions for this, please feel free to let me know. And thanks for watching. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.